Okay, welcome back, y'all. I'm gonna record this video because someone, Junior, was begging me to make a video. So for this one, it's pretty late, so I'm pretty confident that a lot of you guys can do it. But if you're unable to, this is to help, so you don't struggle last minute. And then, honestly, this video just for a reference for you guys to study later in the future when it comes to finals, and you guys need to kind of remember how to use some tools. So today we're gonna do lab 4.3. So let's say where to start. Okay, so remember for this part, we're gonna have our path line and our body sketch, right? So we're pushing this body sketch through this path line, make this body, and then we're gonna need another path line, another sweep for this, and then we're gonna have to cut that tip out, and then we're gonna make a dome at the end. You can use the dome tool, but like I said, it makes your part kind of ugly. So I recommend not to. So let's start. So first off, we're gonna have to make the main body first, right? So let's work on that. So we're gonna do this sketch and do the body sketch in our first sweep, right? And then, like I said in lab, our main body is gonna have this extra 0.500, right? But in this sketch, it doesn't show you. So I just advise you right now to include the 0.500 sketch inside of your main body sketch before you extrude and sweep anything. So let's get started and do this. So sketch, sketch. I remember, really important, what plane you're drawing on for this part. Bop, 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 bop. If this is, this is our ISO view, then we should be drawing our body sketch on our front plane. Yay. Okay, so line. And again, the way I like to draw, just draw the general shape of what you need, and then we can fix it after. So horizontal, and I think we should do a 3-point arc, and then I'm just gonna make it here, make it here. Sure, that's fine. And then I'll make sure that these are tangent. Okay, it is tangent, perfect. Okay, so let's start dimensioning. So we have 325 and R800. So let's focus on that first. 325 from here to here. Point, whoops, not point. 325. And then this is R800.8. Okay, slay. All right, and now let's do the fillets. Let's see. So we have fillet. So remember, the reason why I say that we should do the corners then fillets first is because some people in lab, they were doing this portion already, right? Where they did a circle and circle, and they're missing out that little small vertical line. So I recommend that you draw the general shape of just like across, up and across, right? Then we use the fillet tool, so then it'll perfectly merge and blend for us, so we don't have to worry about that portion. So don't forget the 160 and the 700, 800. Okay, so this is 160. Then we can use the fillet tool down here. Shoot, man. What the hell? 0.800. Okay, slide. And then up here, 0.800. Okay, slide, slide. Okay, and then the last thing I think that was 3 inches, which is this line, specifically point to point, right? Not up here. So it's just this part itself is 300 or 3 inches. And I think that's everything. And then this is still blue, right? So it's not fully defined. And then we'll just make sure that this and that are all vertical semi-relation. And what does it say down here? Fully defined. Perfect. Okay, so done, right? Body sketch, done. Exit. Because for sweeps, what do we need? We need not one, but two sketches, right? We need the path sketch and then the body sketch. So remember, your body sketches or the body contour that you're going to push has to start at the end point of your line, right? So right now we have one endpoint, two endpoints. And this is also why I say it's really important where we start our body sketches, right? And why I always recommend the origin. It's because our origin is always intersecting and coincident to these three planes, right? Your front, top, right. So since we drew on the front plane to start at the origin, that means our right plane is going to be perfectly coincident to our endpoint. And that body sketch also needs to be perpendicular to our body sketch, right? So we can actually push it through the line, right? Because again, if it's like my finger and my phone, I'm pushing this rectangle, right? So we're going to draw a shape here and push it through our path line. So we're going to sketch on the right plane. And then this shape, let's look at the shape real quick. So this shape, right? You got an R on top and R on the bottom, but you got two vertical lines on the side. So what I recommend for this, so obviously we're gonna have two lines on the side and two arcs, right? So what I recommend is drawing using the center point rectangle. We can fully define our sides, and then we can do an R on top and bottom, right? So again, so we know the point, our origin is perfectly in the center of our line, which is what we need. So we're gonna use a corner rectangle to keep that line, the endpoint of our path sketch, in the center of our body sketch, right? And then let me zoom to orientate it, right? So now we know that when we push our sketch through, it's gonna be perfectly centered on our body sketch line. So I already forgot the dimension. Shoot, man. All right, it's 198 and then 0.64. So vertical is 0.198 and then horizontal is 0.64. Well, not 500. 0.64. Okay, perfect. Slay. So now let's do our radius on top, our arc on top. Bop, bop, bop. So also your radius, it's super important where you put it on your lines, right? So let's say, for example, right, let's just place it first. So right now we can see that our arc, it's kind of small and it's gonna be within our two lines, right? If we go straight up, that circle lies within those two lines, right? But let's say I bring my point all, oh shoot. Let's say I make my circle awkward. Okay, let me draw it on the bottom then. Okay, now let's say I make my circle like this, right? Now we can see the difference where the top circle, right? It doesn't go past these two lines, but the bottom circle does go past these two lines. So it's super important where you put the center point of your arc when you dimension, right? Because if we dimension it, what is it? It is 0.335. Okay, so let's say R 0.335, right? 0.335. Okay, perfect. That's fully defined, right? It doesn't go past. But then what happens if I say 0.335 on this side? 0.335. Now you guys see the problem, how both are fully defined, right? Our sketch is fully defined, but for the bottom circle, it's huge and it looks giving us a weird lump, which is not right. For the top circle, it looks correct. And that's again the reason, because this circle started saying that it's bigger and past these two lines. So when we dimension it, that has to stay true. And that circle has to be bigger than those two lines, right? Versus the top, we put it within those two lines. So when we define it, it has to stay between those two lines, right? So it's like a smaller hump versus a bigger hump, right? So let's delete the bottom one and redraw it. And then it's very important that when we draw it, that it doesn't look like this, but it's smaller and within our circle, right? And we know these are supposed to be the same, so we can make a relation, just call equal, so we don't have to think anymore. Slay. And the reason why you can't make it a full circle is because I think if we zoom in, yeah, if we zoom in right here, you can see that the center point of these two arcs don't actually lie on the origin, and it will make your part just a little bit off. I think it will be off enough to ruin your part, so. Okay, anyways, let's trim away what we don't want. We don't want the top and bottom, right? Because we want this whole full portion. And again, it's not fully defined and I'm lazy. But just make sure that your, whatchamacallit, your center points all align on your origin, right? And you should be Gucci Gucci. Exit. So exit, right? So now we have our two sketches, right? We have one, the body sketch, and the pathline sketch, right? So now we can go to sweep. And again, we cannot use circular profile, but I will still show it off, right? So circular profile, all you need is the pathline sketch, right? And when you use circular profile, it's the body contour that's pushing through is a circle, right? And that's why for parts 1 and part 2, for the, what's that thing called? Paperclip and the hook, we can use circular profile, right? Because we're just pushing circular sketch and the parts are circular, but for this one, it's not, so we can't. So if you use circular profile for number 3, you did it wrong. And I'm probably going to take off a point, maybe 2 points for it, honestly, because that's a big thing you forgot, right? So anyways, so sketch profile, let's clear selection. So again, I like to just open my feature tree. for first profile, my body sketch, let's select it, which is my sketch 2, right? And then my pathline sketch, it's my sketch 1, select that. And now, boom, boom, boom. Perfect. Slay. Right? And now you push it through and that's your body sketch. And what did I forget? I forgot my 500 line. So if we forget that, we can always go back, right? Just edit the path sketch. And then we're going to add a 500 line right here. Bum, 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 bum. 0.500. Underdefined, and make sure this is a horizontal line. Perfect. And now it's fully defined. Okay. Now we can just exit sketch, right? And every time you edit your sketch and you exit and you're already extruded, already revolved, already did a bunch of cuts, already did that, already did this, right? SolidWorks will always update to work off of it, right? So we already swept it, but we edited the sketch. So now all it's doing is it's going to edit the sweep to keep up with the changes we made, right? So before it didn't have this extrusion, I just added it on the path line and the SolidWorks already automatically updates and knows that it has to add that portion to our body, right? So cool, slay, all done, right? What do we want to do next? Let's do our second sweep. Why not? So second sweep, scroll, scroll, scroll. So it's going to be this, right? So again, when you, let's go back to the part to show it. So when you sweep, right? Let's show our path line and make this in the black and white that I like to look at. So let's go front view, right? So as you guys can see from front view, our path line is perfectly in the middle of our part, right? And again, that's because we drew our body sketch perfectly centered on that path line. But if we look at it from the side, you guys see that your path line lies perfectly in the middle of your part, right? Because again, it has to be in the middle of your part, and your body will build along that. Your body will always have to be dead onto your path line and push through it, right? So if we know that this path line is centered for our body, and we need to make our second sweep in the center of our body, right? That means we have to draw this portion on what plane? 5 seconds. All right, answer. It is the same plane we drew that one on, which is the front plane. Yay, play. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, so again, I like to draw 3-point arcs. I'm going to draw it in an open space because I don't really care. So let's go back to the thing. So keep in mind that, zoom, 1, 2, 3, vertical, aligned. 1 and 2, horizontally aligned, right? So let's do that. Click, click, click. And remember to set relations, click your first entity, hold control, and click whatever other entity you need. Well, this and this, where's my thing? Okay, well, I can't really see my thing. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to draw a center line from here to here. Oh, well, from there to there. And then I'm going to draw another center line from my midpoint there to the point of my circle. Then I will say this horizontal, so I know that those two lines are horizontal. And then I'll set a relation. This is supposed to be, or dimension, 800 away, right? And then what is the diameter for that? This arc is R.625. So let's set that dimension. Oh, I forgot it. 0.65. Ooh, not 25. 625. Perfect. Okay, cool, 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 cool. And it's still blue. Why is it blue? Oh, up and down. Ooh. Make this and this. I'll make that a midpoint. Perfect. Cool. So now that's fully defined, right? Now you can go features, go sweet boss base. And remember, because this one's circular, you don't have to use body profile. If you look just right underneath, you see that this has a diameter 0.125, right? So now we can just use circle profile instead and then put this to 0.125, right? And then check mark, shoot. Now look at that right in the middle, and that looks pretty good. Big sleigh, right? Dang, that looks nice, right? And we put an isometric view. That looks pretty good, not gonna lie. So now last thing to do, we gotta draw our dome, right? So our dome, you can use the dome tool on Google Dome, use dome, right? And then you can hit this space, and then you say you want to build it 0.250, right? And you build a dome. Now you can't do that, but like your dome looks ugly, right? Like look how like it looks like an egg. Don't want that. I don't like that. So if you want to use dome, feel free. You want to make it look ugly? Make it look ugly. But I want to make mine a little nicer, right? So I want to put a perfect round on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to revolve, right? Like we talked in class. So if we revolve it, right? We want to revolve it going this way, right? So we would need our axis line to be going this way, right? Wait, this way, right? So I'm going to draw again on the same exact plane, which is my front plane, right? I'm going to draw on that plane because it's perfectly intersecting my part, and I can draw my path line right in the middle based off my origin and then revolve it, right? So again, always start with your axis of revolution, right? Always do that. And I want to start it at my origin, make it go across, go that way. So let's say go back to assignment, right? Dome height 250, right? Shoot. So what I'm gonna do, what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna draw the shape of our dome in the 2D plane. Then we're gonna be using this center line, our axis of revolution, to set the height of our dome, right? So let's do that. So let's draw our plane point, right? 1, 2, and we just want to put it in the right direction, right? Just put it in the right direction. That's all you need to do, right? So now it's really important that you don't make the center point of your arc coincident to your origin, right? Because if we measure from here to here, that's 0.669, right? And now, if you put the point of your circle to your origin, you're going to make this height, the radius, the same height here, which is not what you want. Because then that's not going to be, wait, hold on, I'll show you. Let's make this coincident really quick, right? And let's measure this. This is 0.334, which is not what you want, right? You want it 0.250. So let's undo, right? So now we can do the same thing, make this coincident here. Coincident, cool, slay. And now what we're going to do, we're going to dimension to make sure that's 250, to make sure it's the right height. Perfect, now it's the right height, right? This is 250 and that's our dome. See how it's a lot rounder, a lot nicer, right? So now all we have to do, all we did is draw an arc and a line, right? So that means all this space is open. This is breathing still, right? You can swim through everything. So we want to close it off. So we're going to close it off, but we're just only going to close off one side. Because remember, for revolve, you only have to draw half of the portion because we're spinning at 360 anyways, right? So it's going to close off. So we can do that. Go to revolve. Say yes. Close it automatically, right? My line 1, perfect. Select contours. I want to spin the top, right? And we can see how it's going to spin that way. Check mark. Nice. Now look at that dome. That's a lot rounder, right? That looks nicer, right? Not a weird egg. It has a nice blend to it, right? So that's why I recommend you use revolve again. You can use dome if you want. It'll be ugly though. It'll be ugly. I don't think your answer will change that much, but it will be ugly. I will say that. Oh shoot. So now put an ISO view, right? And then we go to evaluate, check our mass properties. 0.391. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, so again, remember for revolving, not revolving, sorry, sweep, all you need is your path line and your body sketch. But if your profile is already circular, you can use circular profile. But again, I hope that this video just helped show you how to use it. And because I posted this, I expect everyone to get full points on number 3. Good luck. Don't break my heart.